The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed 17 players to their practice squad. Let's go ahead and talk about them. Starting off with quarterback Connor Bazelak being brought back to the team. This one isn't really surprising, in my opinion. I thought that Bazelak did a really solid job throughout the preseason and training camp, just being a fine quarterback, protecting the football, not making really many mistakes. So I'm very much impressed with what he was able to do. He's going to continue to be a developmental quarterback going forward. Interesting to note, by the way, that Kyle Trask hasn't signed anywhere yet. I'm sure that will change soon going forward. You then have wide receiver Garrett Green being brought back, quarterback converted to wide receiver, I should say. Shout out to WVU, shout out to the Mountaineers. Big Garrett Green fan, really thought that he was impressive throughout training camp in the preseason. Now he will continue to work and grow with the Buccaneers while on their practice squad. Really wouldn't surprise me if he did get elevated at some points on game days to maybe make some type of an impact in that room. You also have Dennis Houston being brought back as well, which I'm not going to say was like overly surprising. They do like Dennis Houston and what he brings to the table as just a versatile type of wide receiver, but there were some other wide receivers that I thought could have maybe gotten some consideration on that practice squad, Raheem Jarrett being one of them. I'll talk about that type of stuff in a separate video, though, about like potential guys that they could still add to the practice squad or the main roster, but Dennis Houston gets the nod here. He's a little bit of a veteran, a little bit of a developmental guy in there as well, so the Buccaneers like him. Tanner Tuula was brought back. Now, this is going to be technically the fifth tight end in the Bucs organization right now. Absolute humongous tight end, 6'6". The dude can block pretty well. He's a big-bodied type of tight end. He's been with the Buccaneers for a couple of years now, so he will continue to grow and develop with this organization. I think this is his third season in Tampa Bay, so shout out to Tanner Tuula. Then you have just the absolute flood of offensive linemen that were brought in. Starting off with Mike Jordan. So happy the Buccaneers were able to bring him back in. I thought that he was probably the top interior offensive lineman backup that the Bucs had, besides probably Elijah Klein, which I'm still not sold on Elijah Klein as a center, but I will admit he's a pretty solid guard. Mike Jordan was probably number 2 in that interior offensive line depth, so I am happy to see him brought back. He is definitely a guy that I can see elevated at certain points throughout the season, if not outright promoted at some point throughout the season as well. Luke Haggard was another offensive lineman brought in. He also has guard tackle versatility, as do a lot of these O-linemen that the Bucs brought in, Mike Jordan as well. So he's another developmental guy that the Bucs have had in their system. He knows the offense. Ben Scott is very similar as well. Guard, center, hybrid type of thing, which actually, fun fact, do you guys know that photo that's been circulating around the internet with Tez Johnson doing the backflip, all funds and stuff like that, right? Well, the offensive lineman who is like stunned at the backflip of Tez Johnson was Ben Scott. So very interesting. Shout out to Ben Scott. That's kind of a fun little note there. You've also got Lorenz Metz being in there. He is an exception to the practice squad, so they can have 17 players there. Which, thank you to whoever commented about the idea of like, I thought that it was an exemption to the 53-man roster. Not the case. It is to the 90-man roster and to the practice squad. So thank you for clarifying that, my wonderful subscribers. You then have Tyler McClellan rounding out the offensive line, another backup tackle. So I remember in the video, the 53-man roster video, I said to you guys like, hey, I'm worried about the lack of interior offensive line depth for the Bucs, and the team just said, nah, it's fine, we're just gonna have 5 offensive linemen on the practice squad, so don't even worry about it. So there you have that. We do have a couple of new names in here as well. Firstly, Jason Jones coming in at nose tackle. He formerly played for the Baltimore Ravens. He's a big dude. According to the Ravens website, he was 6 feet 6 inches tall, 335 pounds. Formerly played at Auburn. So a very interesting name there. Let's see if we can take a look at the scouting report. I don't necessarily... He was undrafted. He was not a draft pick. So he's a big body. He is going to be a guy that will be in that mix for backup nose tackle if they ever do need an extra body. So I'm going to be curious to see how he does in terms of his growth and development for the Buccaneers system versus the Baltimore Ravens system. You know it's a good thing whenever a team like the Baltimore Ravens is interested in a guy like Jason Jones, because The Baltimore Ravens are just a well-ran organization. So he played 3 years at Auburn, 1 year at Oregon, and he didn't put up a ton of crazy stats and things along those lines, but he is a big body. He's going to be a guy that will continue to grow and develop in the Bucs system. So welcome Jason Jones to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You then brought back veteran defensive lineman Adam Gotsis and CJ Brewer. Really happy that they were able to bring these guys back as well. I'm a big fan of Adam Gotsis. I did have him here on the channel, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. We did also have CJ Brewer coming back as well. Two guys who were solid throughout the preseason and training camp and whatnot, and can be elevated on game days also. Nash Hutmacher is another guy that was brought back, and man, it is what it is. There wasn't necessarily a lot that I saw from Nash Hutmacher that was like overly impressive, but obviously the Buccaneers do want to work with him. He is from Nebraska, so maybe that tells you something a little bit in there as well. He did have a draft profile, which is interesting. So the NFL, obviously, we're kind of paying attention to him. He was a priority free agent in terms of what he could be at the next level. In terms of his college stats at Nebraska, had a fine final 2 years, 2 sacks, 4.5 sacks in 23. He's going to continue to grow in that defensive line. That was another spot that I was worried about. I do feel better that they have 4 defensive linemen on the practice squad as well. Does help out with those depth concerns that I had. Thankfully, Nick Jackson is back on the practice squad as well. That was one that I was worried about, but he cleared waivers. He's back. No word on Anthony Walker Jr. It definitely seemed he did have a workout for the Colts. So I don't necessarily know if he's going to be coming back to Tampa Bay. If he has a chance to be on a 53-man roster, he's probably going to go take that chance to be on a 53 versus a practice squad. So Nick Jackson may be your primary next man up linebacker in the case of injuries or game elevations or whatever it may be. So shout out to Nick Jackson. He was really solid throughout the preseason and training camp, and I'm happy to see him back in there as well. Undrafted player out of Iowa. Another new player has entered the arena for the Bucs. It is Muhammad Kamara coming in, or Mo Kamara coming in, a 5th round pick in 2024 of the Miami Dolphins. So that is definitely a very interesting thing to make a note of there. Formerly played at Colorado State from 2019 to 2023. Jose Ramirez is not back. Okay, in fact, not a lot of Bucs players signed with other teams like main rosters or practice squads. I think Trey Palmer was the only one. So this is the Bucs saying, hey, we're choosing Mo Kamara over Jose Ramirez, which is very interesting in my opinion. He is the younger brother of former Temple linebacker Amara Kamara, which is just a great name. I thought it was Alvin Kamara for a second. I was like, oh, well, there you go. I want to see if we can find not just his combine profile, but I'm also curious to see what his college stats were while at Colorado State. So pretty impressive, man. 13 sacks in 2023, 8.5 in 2022 for Colorado State, and then 7.5 in 2021. 29 sacks in 3 years is pretty solid, dude. So he was able to go out there, do some really good work while at Colorado State. And was a guy who, at least according to this, was a good backup with potential to develop into a starter during that draft last year, the 2024 draft. He had a draft projection of round 3, so I'm cool with this. If you want to bring in Mo Kamara, have him continue to grow and develop, I'm completely on board with that. He didn't play a lot in his first year in Miami, but he's still going to be a guy that's going to learn and grow. He's only 26 years old, so maybe he can be something down the line. Shout out Mo Kamara, man. I didn't know he was a dog like that in college football. That's great. Another guy that I'm very excited to be back on this practice squad, Bryce Hall. And I know I've seen some people say, James, what are you talking about? Bryce Hall isn't even like that. I think Bryce Hall is like that. I like Bryce Hall and what he brings to the cornerback room. I disagreed with him being cut, I should say that. And I'm happy he was able to sign back on the practice squad. I was really crossing my fingers for a couple of these guys to come back. Garrett Green was one of them. Bazelak was one of them. Mike Jordan was one of them. Adam Gotsis was one of them. Nick Jackson was one of them. And Bryce Hall was one of them. So, like, those were the 6 dudes where I was like, hey, please bring them back. And they brought back 6 of them. There's other guys that I wanted to bring back as well. That didn't happen. Again, we'll dive into that in a separate video. But Bryce Hall comes back. Great veteran presence. I really think that he's another guy that could eventually be promoted to the main roster. Finally, we have safety Jack Henderson coming in. Now, I don't necessarily know anything about Jack Henderson. I do know that he was with the Panthers this offseason, 6'2", 215 pounds. So he certainly has some very good size for a backup developmental safety. Coming out of Minnesota, played in 23, played in 24. For a defensive back to get 6 sacks is very, very impressive in my opinion. So he's obviously a bigger type of defensive back. He had an interception. He had a forced fumble, a fumble recovered. He can do a little bit of everything, right? So shout out to Henderson. I'm going to be curious to see what he does at the next level. In fact, I wonder, I'm just going to do this. I wonder if we can take a look at their Pro Football Focus for the new names. So let's start off with Jason Jones of the Baltimore Ravens, because he should have a profile on here. He does. And then whenever we take a look at the premium stats, we can go back to the NCAA. We can go to defense. And yeah, Jason Jones was very solid throughout his time at Auburn in terms of run defense. Tackling wasn't necessarily great during his time at Auburn, but was still able to do some fine work in 23 and 22. And then his pass rush is also serviceable as well. So I like Jason Jones whenever we take a look at the advanced statistics. Let's go ahead now and do Mo Camara. He obviously had the numbers to back it up whenever we take a look at that. Mo Camara for Colorado State. I mean, come on. Come on, guys. Did the Bucs get a stud here? Did they? You tell me. I see a 91.2 pass rush grade, guys. It's pretty solid. I see a very solid run defense grade. I see an overall great defensive grade. I know it's for Colorado State, but if the guy's going out there and being a dog, he's going out there being a dog. I mean, it's not my fault he's got that dog in him. So shout out Mo Camara. And then let's go ahead and see what we got in Jack Henderson as the final guy. I'm curious about that as well. Again, very solid numbers. SCLA, I assume that is like a small-time college. But again, very, very solid numbers here whenever we take a look at the undrafted stuff with Jack Henderson. So I like the new guys that were brought in. It seems like the advanced metrics likes them. Pro Football Focus thinks that there's some very solid players in terms of Henderson, Mo Camara especially. Also Jason Jones as well as the new names. Even the old names coming back, I'm fine with a lot of these as well. There was a lot of guys that I wanted to come back, and we got most of them. So welcome to the new faces, Jason Jones, Mo Camara, and Jack Henderson. Welcome to the old faces returning as well. What do you guys think about the practice squad signings? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you guys do want to check out some videos as to why these cuts happen in the first place and these guys are on the practice squad, check out the video here at the end as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.